Hi, everyone out there. My name is Mark. This is Champion Within Conversations, and I'm really excited about my next guest here, Brittany. Sometimes I know the guests really well. I had a high school friend, I had my life coach on here. This is exciting because this is somebody that I'm just getting to know. And we actually met via Instagram because of a mutual interest, which was something called a Hyrox competition. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's a really cool competition. Look it up. It's something that tests you physically and mentally. It's a lot of running and it's a lot of different hit type of exercises in between. And she had seen me commenting on one of those competitions, and she was about to do one in Dallas, right?
Yes.
And she was asking me what it was like, and we had some correspondence. I was giving her some tips, and then she tagged me in a post after she finished it, and I was really excited to hear how it went. So without further ado, here's Brittany, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany White. I'm a teacher here in Texas. I teach fourth grade reading and writing, and I'm excited to be here.
That's very exciting. What is that like? Was that something that you always wanted to do, or is it something that you came about doing later on in your life?
It definitely came later in life. I never saw myself as a teacher at all. It's one of those things where the profession really did choose me at the right time. So I'm honored to be a teacher and I get to do what I love for a living. So it's a blessing.
Awesome. So I wanted to know, is fitness a passion of yours? Is that something that you did all your life? Is it something that you started to do a little bit later also, or no?
Now, fitness is definitely something that came a lot later. I've only been focusing on my fitness for about 2 years.
Wow.
So I have not been doing this all of my life. It's one of those things. I think when we think of competitions like Hyrox or fitness in general, we think of the track stars in high school or the
Yeah.
collegiate athletes, the people who are in the Olympics, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love the journey of just being able to redefine what athletic looks like and what it is. If you're at a place where you're just ready to jump in and it's really like no matter what, I'm gonna jump in and I'm not gonna quit. That's it.
I want to tell you that's really impressive to me to hear you say that you were only doing this for 2 years, because I've been actively in fitness and athletics my whole life. And it
Wow.
scared me when I looked it up. But I was like, oh, I'm pretty active with this. I do training and I go to the gym. So I should be able to manage it. But I can't imagine if I was like, I've never really done anything like
Hmm.
this.
Yes.
Let me just jump right in there.
Yeah, like I can tell you, I knew it's one of those things where I think when people see a competition like that, they think, oh, I'm not gonna do that yet because I'm not prepared the way I want to be prepared. I trained for it and I prepared for it, but I honestly think that when you do something like High Rocks or any kind of endurance fitness event like that, you can train, you can prepare, but at the end of the day, I don't think anything can prepare you for what you're really going to face once you're there in it.
Totally
It's just,
agree.
it's
I
different.
totally, I
Yes.
totally, you could do all the exercises, you could look it
Mm-hmm.
up, you could figure out how to work the muscle groups and everything, cardio. But
Right.
once you're out there, there's a certain
Mm-hmm.
point. I always say this to people. There's a certain
Yes.
point where it's just like, I don't feel like I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
you're just using your heart and your
Yes.
mind to kind of push
Yes.
past that point. Would you say that you had a
Absolutely.
point like that for you?
Absolutely. Even before I had told my trainer, I said, my goal is to at least not be the very last person.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up happening. I was the very last person.
Yeah.
But like it when I first started, things were going okay. It was a challenge, but it was bearable. When I got to the sled push and attempted 3 times to push and it didn't move. And after the 3rd time, I just stood around and I said, can someone help me take a weight off or something? Because this isn't moving. Is something wrong with the floor? What's happening? And I said, you know what? I'm going to give it another push. And the 4th time when I attempted to push that sled, I leaned my entire body into it and it moved a little bit. And I said, okay. So I just pushed my entire body into that. And even through the sled push, I pushed through it and I got through it and I kept going. I didn't reach my breaking point until I got to the lunges.
Oh yeah.
When I got to those lunges, it wasn't only a burning sensation. I was hurting. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't hurting to the point of injury, but I was hurting to a point that I hadn't experienced working out before. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point to where I was stopping. I asked a volunteer, I said, hey, what happens if I just drop this and just go without the sandbag? And she said, no, ma'am. Like you're keeping it on and you're going.
Yeah.
And so they really had to cheer me on and coach me through it. It got to a point to where I was crying and I was crying and I was like, I just don't know. Like, I don't want to quit, but I don't see how I can have the strength to keep going. And that's what I was facing at that point. And somehow, one lunge at a time, I made it to the end. But that, from the lunges on through the wall balls, was where my emotions really took over, and I was really pushing into a level of strength that I had never seen in myself before. Mm-hmm. That was really a significant point for me.
So where would you say that the strength came from, if you had to put it into words?
One, the strength came from God because I was praying. Like, number one, I was praying. The strength also came from me just looking at how far I had already come. Like I told myself, I drove 4 hours to get to that event. Mm-hmm. Am I going to drive 4 hours just to walk away now? Mm-hmm. No. I'm going to get what I came here for. I drove 4 hours for this.
People don't know about those self-talks. I spoke to myself the entire way.
Yes.
In the end, those are really important.
Those self-conversations, man. And then also, like, there were other people, like, because I was the last person, there were people in other, like, I guess, pro and elite heats that were going through. And it was late in the day. And there were even like people, like hardcore competitors who took a second or two to just look over at me in the middle of their workout and say, hey, keep going. That meant so much to me. There was one woman, she was definitely on an elite level and she was going hard. She was going at it and she slowed down just to tell me, get down and get back up, just like in life. And you keep going and don't quit. And so even like to have people like pausing in the middle of their own competition time to encourage me, to tell me to keep going, that was another source of strength for me as well.
So I want to talk about a statement you made earlier when you said something along the lines of you wanted to redefine what it looks like to be an athlete. Mm-hmm. What do you want it to look like? What does your definition look like?
As of right now, my definition of an athlete is someone who's willing to go all in and not quit no matter what. So nothing is holding them back. It doesn't matter where they currently are. They're going to jump in. They're going to struggle, probably start off being the worst. Mm-hmm. But they keep doing it and they keep competing against themselves and going through that process. you naturally improve and get better the more that you're doing that. I think that's what it has to look like. We can't just keep holding ourselves back and saying, oh, I can't do that because I'm not at this status.
Mhm.
It start from where you are.
Oh yeah, I agree, because it can be really intimidating, and it was for me to get on the starting line and then see all these like monsters next to you that are just up and cut up, and you're like, where do I rank among these people? I think a lot of times comparison keeps people from even getting to the starting line.
Yes. Yes. Big time. That's a huge part of it. And it's if the event says that it is open and it's a fitness competition for everybody,
Yeah, yep,
I'm everybody.
yep. I like that. I need to tap into that level of confidence.
Yes, it's not easy. My finishing time was 4 hours, the
Wow.
longest time out of everybody. And my only goal when I go back in April, if I can finish at 3 hours, I'll be proud of myself. I'm beating my own time each time. You know, it's me against me. That's it.
That's the best way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had seen that you had done some other races before. I don't know. Those were before Hyrox, right?
Yes.
You did a Spartan. Did you do Spartan race?
I haven't done Spartan yet. I'm actually signed up for DecaFit, which is this weekend in Austin. I'm
Nice.
excited about that. That's going to be fun. That'll be my first Spartan experience.
Okay.
I did a mud girl race earlier on before Hyrox, and that was fun. Just I've never been engulfed in that much mud before. So you know, and even that is you know, pushing your mental capacity. Mud is nothing to be afraid of, right? But it's one of those things where when you push your mental capacity or you get to certain obstacles and you go, oh, there's no way I can do that. And you're not left with an option and you have to do it. And you actually go through and do it. You look back and you go, wow, I really can do this. Let's see
Right.
what else I can do. Right.
Right.
It's like it's
I was just getting ready to ask you, is this something that translates into your life outside of fitness?
110%. I am so thankful that this is now a part of my life, because my life, the theme of my life is endurance. I've had to endure so much, so many hard times, so much rejection, so much hurt. So I'm grateful to be able to have something as tangible as doing these races to teach me what kind of mindset and what kind of strength I need to have to get through it. Because what I went through with experiencing those lunges, that's real. Because a lot of times, a lot of times in life, like I know a lot of people have probably been through things that have gotten them to the point to where it's like, I don't want to quit, but I don't know how to keep going. I don't see it in me. I don't have it in me. And for me personally, doing something tangible like that and working through those thoughts through a tangible experience like Hyrox and doing those lunges and pushing through teaches me how to handle the struggles that I go through in other life situations where I experience rejection, or I experience all of these really hard things that hurt me to my core. And I'm dealing with the thoughts of, I want to push through, I don't want to give up, but I don't feel like I have it in me. So at that point, I'm able to channel that experience to bring that into what I'm currently dealing with, so that I can have a means to push through. I have a reference point to help guide me through those hard times that I go through.
Nice. So can you think of one experience where you in life where you said those things like, I don't know, I don't want to quit, but I don't really know how I'm going to push through this, and then you found a way to get through that situation or scenario?
Well, I'll tell you, even now, very recent, very recent situation, I went through a breakup. One of the most difficult things for me to go through. I had been through things like that before, but this pain has probably topped any pain that I've dealt with in that area of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And even over the past few days, it had been really tough. And I just remember like sitting at home and just thinking like, man, like I just like, do I even still deserve to push through this? Do I even deserve to see what's on the other side of me letting this go and to keep going? You know, like it's a very real thing. It's like I want to, right? But how do I have the strength to push through this and get through this? It's so painful. I don't have it in me. I feel like the strength that I have is not enough. I'm trying to find new strength to get through it, and I can't find that new strength. I don't know what it is. And you know, by the grace of God, like I held on and encouraged, the right encouragement came right when I needed it. I go on my Instagram and Hyrox was advertising for their Chicago race and my picture is featured.
Oh, wow.
Of me doing the wall balls and me going through the exact same thought process I was going through when I was sitting in my apartment wondering how I was going to go on with my life.
Yeah.
You know, people from the event just messaging me and saying, I've been looking at your workouts. I've been looking at the videos. We can't wait to see you in April. Keep pushing, keep going. Just so many different messages that people have sent me with just words of confirmation, friends having conversations with me, family having conversations with me. So many different things that helped me to push forward. And I'm so glad it was perfect timing that Hyrox actually posted that picture, I believe yesterday morning. Perfect timing because that picture reminded me like, you are strong.
Mm-hmm.
You can get through it. Look at what you did, right? Look at what you pushed through. Look at what you worked through at that event. You know, like you can get through it. You're strong. And so even today, am I 100% no? But I'm nowhere near where I was a day or two ago, right? Because I'm able to learn how to push through. And I truly believe that doing these races and doing these workouts are the very things that are teaching me how to push through. It's all about building that mental capacity that you need. All of it correlates with each other.
Yeah, thanks for that answer. That was very transparent. And I totally agree with you there because oftentimes it's great having things like that to be able to channel that energy into. Because sometimes when people go through those experiences, they kind of go off the rails or go towards doing things that are not so positive or good for them. So being able to take yourself in that moment and be like, I'm putting this big goal on my plate requires a lot of internal resources, I would say, in order to be able to focus enough to get to that point and while you're there. Because I feel like if you're there and you have all these things swirling around in your mind, you won't have enough to cross that finish line.
Yep.
So it's like an exercise of emptying your cup and emptying your mind and saying, okay, I have to challenge everything within my mind and body to this weight, to this lunge. And my legs are burning and my arms are on fire. But I have to put everything into this. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get it done. So
yes, absolutely.
Kudos to you for that. I wanted to mention, because I know not everybody watching this will have done a Hyrox. The wall ball is at the end. At the very end, after you've already ran like 8K and then you've done all these different exercises, you've done your sandbag lunges and you've done your burpees and your sled push and you did the ski rag machine and the row machine and all that stuff. After you finished everything, at the very end, you get one of those weighted balls I don't know how much the one that you had was, like 10 pounds,
It may have been 10 pounds, I believe.
maybe 10 pounds, and you had
Yeah.
to squat and throw it and hit a
Mm-hmm.
target. And
Mm-hmm.
after you've done, like, this whole race is leg work, as you know, like it's like 90% leg work. So
Yeah.
by the time you get to that point, it is so hard just to hold this thing up,
Mm-hmm.
squat, and hit that target. There was many times when I missed the target and had to redo the whole squat all over again. And you had to do what, 75 of them?
75. Mm-hmm.
75 of those at the very end
Mm-hmm.
of this whole race.
Mm-hmm.
So describing that feeling, I remember reading your post afterwards and seeing this picture that kept circulating around. Hyrox posted it, you posted it, and I was
Mm-hmm.
looking at some of the comments, and you were describing doing like one at a time and crying in between, and having all the people around you encouraging you, like, come on, you can do it. And
Yeah,
everyone was like
yeah.
cheering and everything like that. How do you even find the strength at that point in time where you're right near the end, but you're so tired and so in so much pain, and you're like, I'm in last, nobody else is going.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you find the courage to just keep throwing this thing one at a time, like one, one, one? What are you thinking at that point?
Well, I'll tell you, for one, the energy was just on like 200. Like the energy was crazy. When I looked around and saw all the people surrounding me, I just thought, these people don't even know me. They have no idea who I am. And they are cheering me on. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Danielle, she got in my face and she just kept reminding me, who are you doing this for? Why are you here? Who are you doing this for? And she did that one wall ball at a time. I'll never forget it. Also, when I got to wall ball number 10, they were cheering like I got to 200. And like that really gave me the energy and the strength to keep going. And then I also thought about my dad. My dad is not a quitter. My dad raised us to not give up and to not quit. And not only did he teach us that through his words, but he shows, and still to this day, shows us that through his actions day in and day out. So when I think about my dad's consistency and how he has endured and he has never given up, even at times when he probably want to, he never quit. He worked through his challenges. And so keeping all of those things in mind is what really kept me going through those wall balls. Like 75 just seemed so far away, but like the crowd that was there, they were not letting me go without getting to 75. There you
Yeah.
go.
So how did you
Yeah.
feel when you finished with the very last one?
I was so excited. I couldn't believe I had gotten there. They said, "Oh, you have one more." I was like, let's do it. Let's go. And what's funny is the energy, the excitement, the positivity, it's unmatched. And it's not one of those things where they're just cheering because it's an event. They sincerely and genuinely want to see you succeed. And you can feel it. You can feel it through everybody there. It is very genuine. It's very sincere. And when you see people there cheering you on like that, and to have the sincere hearts that they have, there's a lot of encouragement that's found in that to get to that finish line. It was the most amazing thing.
Oh yeah, and as you were describing it to me, even though I did it in a totally different part of the world, I had a similar experience as you in terms of the encouragement. I didn't finish in 4 hours, but I also wasn't anywhere close to first. People were finishing in an hour and change, and I was still here at 2 hours, still going around and doing it. And I definitely got that encouragement too, where people who were lapping me and going by me were like, come on, man, you can do it.
Yeah.
You didn't just
Yeah.
come here just to come here. You put in all the work and all the training, like keep going. And those little comments are like such a boost
Yes.
when you
Yes.
feel like I've exhausted all of my physical resources. Because just like you
Mm-hmm.
said, I feel like there's only a certain point that you train to. Maybe the elite athletes that are trying to finish first have a different experience, but for the everyone that you're
Mm-hmm.
describing, like me and you, I feel like we all get to a point where we're like, man, can I even finish this? I don't know. I've never done something so physically taxing. And
Right.
I hate to say this, but you will have that experience again in DecaFit
Yes.
because I did a DecaFit in 2020, and comparing it to Hyrox, it was pretty comparable. Like
Okay.
it's obviously not a
Yeah.
big track that you're going around or anything like that, but in terms of it's the same format.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10 really hard exercises of weight stuff and then like running in between. It's the same format.
Yes.
But
Yes.
those were two things that actually took everything I had to where I felt like when I finished with it, I was like, wow, I can't believe that I actually finished this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where, I think we also just have to remember even the people who are competing at an elite status,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a cakewalk for them either.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is struggling at the place that they're at.
Yes.
Even the champs, like everybody's burning, everybody is sweating.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's one of those things where it's no matter where you are, it's not supposed to just be this easy thing that you just go and do, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's your mental capacity. I feel like no matter where you are, your mental capacity is going to be tested. Your physical is going to be tested. For me, it was mental, physical, and definitely emotional. all, you know, all of those things are going to be pushed. They're going to be tested no matter where you are. And I think if we can just remember that, I think more people would have more of a courage to actually jump in and do it.
And that's the goal of what I'm hoping some people get from this
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Yes. Yes.
I love hearing this because I actually have not spoken to a Hyrox athlete on my platform before. You're the first. So I
Wow.
loved that statement that you made in the beginning, that it's for all, that it's for everyone.
Yes.
And I felt the same way as you when I finished. I said, like, wow, I'm an athlete. Even though I mentioned to you doing things in athletics, it's not like I was in the NBA or the NFL or anything like that. I just
Mm-hmm.
mean I did a lot of sports growing up in high school, outside in the park, those types of things.
Right.
This
Right.
type of thing, I was like, there's only so many people that do it. And I listening to you, I feel like almost anyone can do it. Obviously, if you have some kind of physical limitations, you might not be able to do it. But
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of the average person, can
Mm-hmm.
step in there and will themselves towards doing it as long as they
Yes.
have put in an appropriate amount of training to be able to do it and it's safe for
Right.
them.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like anyone can make that type of push. And it's very impressive that you were able to do this with this, what it seems like you're saying is kind of a limited amount of training and, experience with this type of thing.
Right. Right. And like it's all about starting. Right. My starting time for my first Hyrox was 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
A year from now, that should not be the case, right? We should improve.
Yes.
We improve and we get better every time. And there will be a day when I will be competing at the elite status with, everyone else. Like I'm looking forward to getting to that place one day, but you have to start somewhere in order to get there. And that's the goal, to
So
start and to improve every time.
So what kind of advice would you give to somebody, not necessarily just relating to Hyrox, but
Mhm.
starting something that they happen to look at other people doing it now and feel like I am so far off from
Mhm.
where this first place finisher is or the top finishers are, but it's something that I would like to do. What kind of advice would you give them to be able to help them get to that starting point?
Sign up. Sign up and pay.
Yeah.
You know, hold yourself accountable and get a training plan together and, you know, start working towards it. At the end of the day, the goal is for you to be there to push and challenge and better yourself. That's what it's all about. And I will say with training, my trainer prior to, she pushed me in ways that just pushed my mental capacity in a way that I hadn't experienced before. So when I got to Hyrox, even though it was still very hard for me, my mind went to those hard places. And it's like, okay, my mind has been here before. I know that I can keep going. And even when my mental got to a place to where it was hard, and even through training, I had never experienced that much mental hardship. It was okay, but I know that I have to keep pushing. It's having that trained and built up within yourself. But you have to start. Sign up, pay, hold yourself accountable, and, you know, train, prepare, do what you need to do, but show up and show up open-hearted. Have an open heart and have an open mind, because at the end of the day, something's going to meet you there, whether it's new strength you're supposed to find, whether it's a new version of yourself that is being birthed. I know I can attest to that. I feel like there's a new version of myself, a new strength, a new side of myself that is being birthed forth since I've started this thing that I've never seen before. Something is going to meet you there, but in order to meet it, you have to show up.
Man, I didn't want to cut you off, but I'm going to have to watch that part again. Something is going to meet you there, but you have to show up. Man, that's I had to write that one down. Did you just come up with that on your own?
Yeah.
You heard that? You just thought of it?
I just when I was driving to Dallas, I had butterflies in my stomach. I was very nervous. And I just had this feeling. I was like, I'm supposed to get something today. Something is going to meet me here today. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to meet something at some point today. And that's exactly what happened. I literally, like, with pursuing fitness and like getting into Hyrox, looking into Spartan and doing these different races, there's a version of me, even going through the hard time that I'm going through right now that I talked about earlier, going through the hardship, the pressure, feeling depleted and having to push through, and pushing through the depletion, leading me into finding new strength because I don't push through the depletion. All of that, like a pearl, is birthing me into something. It's birthing me into a Brittany I have never met before. And in order to meet that version of yourself and whatever, and maybe you're meant to find something else, whether it's strength, maybe it's mental capacity, it could be physical, it could be health, it could be anything. But in order to meet that, you have to show up and you have to face whatever is in front of you. And once you face what's in front of you, when you push through it, you find what you're meant to find. But what you're meant to find, you've never seen before. You're only introduced to it once you push through and get there to it. It's going to be a fight. It's not going to be easy, but it's worth it. That's what I've been telling myself these past 3 days.
No, I love everything that you just said. That was like a whole sermon right there. I would say just to add on, because I can't even top what you just said. A lot of times we know that we have like this much, like I've done this before. I know that I have this much in me to do. And then it's like, I'm going to do things that only require this exact amount because I know that I can do this. I've done this before. That breakthrough in our human experience and finding that new Mark or that new Brittany that we've never seen before actually requires us to put things on our plate that are bigger than what we've ever done before.
Yes. Yes.
Because then you have to actually grow into that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's something that I have just started learning more recently. Like, I know that there's a certain amount of things that are just in me to be able to do because God gave them to me. I was just born with this ability. So just throw me out there and I'm going to be able to get that done. But that's not taking me anywhere. That's just keeping me right where I was and leaving me in the same places and doing the same things and achieving at the same level all the time.
Yes.
That's why I loved that you didn't just say, now you're saying that you want to shave off an hour off of the time, but you said to me plenty of times, I want to finish in first place. My goal.
Oh, yes.
My goal is to finish in first place. And I said to myself, wow. So somebody who told me that they finished in last place the first time they did it is like, well, now that I got my feet wet and know what everything is about, my next goal, well, not necessarily next time, but my eventual goal.
Yeah, eventual goal
is to be the first place finisher. And even if you did this 1,000 times and never finished in first, your goal was like, I want to do 10 minutes better than the last time.
Right.
Probably do 10 minutes better than the last time. If your goal is like, I want to be the first one across the finish line, you might do this thing an hour faster than you would have done it if your goal wasn't so lofty.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, when I was there, one thing I love about being at the event, there were people there who looked like in their 60s, 70s. I mean, going all the way in.
Yeah.
And like, even seeing that, I said, look, as long as this is going to be here, I'm in the long haul. I don't care if I'm standing up there with that first place flag and I am 50. I am going to get there one day.
Yeah. I would love to be one of those people, 60, 70, running around, finishing and passing all these 20 somethings and 30 somethings. I love that. I love that mentality.
Yes, it's like, I don't know what year. I'm 30 right now. I don't know if I'll reach it at 32 or 33 or maybe even later. I don't know. But all I know is if I keep the mindset that it's me against me and I keep going against my time every time, eventually I'm going to get to that place.
I love that. And I want to thank you so much for taking this time to do this interview. I have one other thing that I always ask all of my guests, and you kind of answered it, but I'm going to ask you again, which is, what is your personal definition of a champion?
A champion? Gosh, you really got me with this, because, man, I think with everything I've been struggling with lately, I've been saying, I need answers. And I think I'm about to give myself the answer I've been looking for through answering this question. So thank you for asking me that. A champion is someone who knows where they are, and there's no limit to where they can be. And even when they get to a place where they're depleted, they feel like they don't have the strength. They don't know where to find new strength to get to that next level. Even in their lowest times, they keep putting one foot in front of the other and they keep going. They don't compare themselves against other people. The only person they're comparing themselves against is themselves. And it's all about their goals and reaching their goals. And even though the goals may be lofty, they do what they have to do to push through to get there. And to me, that makes a true champion, because it's through pushing through all of that you're not only developing your physical, your mind is changing. You're becoming more emotionally intelligent through the process because you're being challenged. All of those different things are building your character into the actual attitude that a champion needs to have in order to handle truly being a champion. So it's all about being able to do what it takes to get there in the good times where you feel like you can do it. But even when you feel like you absolutely cannot, you let that shape you in the direction of having the attitude that you need. So that way, when you do get to that place or you're growing and developing, you are growing and developing in a direction that's positive and that's going to have a positive impact on others. It's a journey. It's a continual thing.
Wow. So I just wanted to tell you at the end of this, first of all, that was another great answer. This was exactly what I needed today. This was that thing that Mark needed today. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I haven't done one of these interviews in months. And it was because of, I started off with this interview series. I've been doing it for some time. And sometimes I look at different views and I look at this one is really successful and that one's really successful and mine is not so much. And this conversation and everything that you said about Hyrox and about life actually can apply in this kind of a platform too. Everybody has to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Also, I told you I've been sick for the last couple of weeks. So this has actually taken a lot for me to even do this interview at this time. But it gave me so much that I can take with me and apply to like future situations. So I love the fact that you talked about kind of stepping out of your comfort zone and also doing it for you, and your goal being to be better than the last time. And also, I usually have a paper full of questions, and I sat down. Now, well, you probably can't really see this, but there's only like 2 or 3 things on there. But previous times I've had notebooks full, 2, 3, 4 pages worth of things. And I actually said to myself, well, whatever Brittany has to say, you know, it's just gonna flow how it's supposed to happen. The questions that are supposed to come are going to come based on the stimulation of the conversation. And you had so many things to say that I wouldn't have even expected at the beginning. And if I had just said, well, I don't really know if I want to do this, let's not do this and postpone for some later time, these questions would never come out. This interview would never have happened. And there's somebody out there that's going to watch.
Yes.
And it's going to be just what they needed to hear as well. So I really wanted to thank you for being so willing. I wanted to mention you were willing right off the bat. It doesn't always go that way. When I asked you, you were like, sure, I'd love to. And we jumped right into the conversation, and I'm very happy with it.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciated this. The timing is amazing. I think also someone may watch this, and you know, a lot of times, like when people like they watch videos and they hear people speak and they hear like, you know, the positive motivational things, and they think, oh, that person's doing great, they're just saying that. And the unique thing about the timing of this interview is I'm in the thick of it right now, and I'm just sharing what, you know, what I'm getting out of this and what God is revealing to me, and what, you know, what the things that I'm just picking up day after day, just like pushing through one day after another. So even if someone watches this and they're like, oh, she's just saying that, like, I'm in the thick of it. At Hyrox, I was in the thick of it. During this interview, I'm in the thick of it. There's no rainbows and butterflies over here. So like the encouragement is real. Everything that was expressed is very real. Things that have came to me over the course of only a few days of just really going through a tough time. So I know that someone is truly going to be blessed and encouraged through this.
Thank you once again, and see you guys next time.